There's a beautiful book, I don't know if you've read it, called Countdown. And it's about the sperm counts going down across the world. And I actually brought her onto my podcast, the woman who wrote the book. And she said that there's one chemical that's reducing sperm counts more than any, and it's phthalates. And phthalates are in fragrances. They're in our colognes, they're in our perfumes, they're in our laundry detergents, they're in our air fresheners. They also are now infiltrated into our water. So they've infiltrated they're now being sprayed on our foods. Animals that are drinking the water have phthalates in them. So it's the number one toxin that's destroying testosterone levels. And it's a brilliant book that she wrote.
You talk about in The Reset Factory, your first book from 2016, chapter 10, you said something which I hadn't quite appreciated. You said that even the things we put on our skin are absorbed into our body, and then they go directly into our bloodstream and into our kidneys. When I read that, it got me thinking, because there's so many things that I sort of unconsciously just spray on my body every day. And I never look at what's in them because I just think it's on the outside and it will wash off.
Yeah.
But now you're saying that.
Yeah. Your skin is a breathable organ. So it's going to push toxins out and it's going to take toxins in. So think about if you've ever eaten something that didn't react well with you, you might get a rash. That's your brilliant body trying to push that toxin out. But the same thing happens when you put something on your skin. It actually goes into your body. So a good general rule is if you aren't willing to eat it, don't put it on your skin. And beyond that, if we even look at the microbiome, you have bacteria on your skin that protect you. And that bacteria are actually talking to the bacteria in our gut. There's actually a connection between the two bacteria. So if you start putting things on your skin that destroy that microbiome, you're actually going to ultimately have an adverse effect on the microbiome in your gut. So what you put on your skin is massively important. And then the smell, we know the hippocampus, which is the seat of Alzheimer's and dementia, is also where the olfactory nerve innervates. So when we smell something toxic and breathe something toxic in, it goes straight into the hippocampus and starts to create degeneration in those neurons that ultimately can lead to dementia and Alzheimer's. Toxicity is a huge human problem.
Toxicity. When you say the word toxicity, how are you defining that? You're saying toxic chemicals that we introduce into our lives, on our skin, consume, inhale, have around us.
Bingo. Yep.
And that are in our foods, etc.
Yep, bingo.
What are some of the most toxic chemicals or foods or products that we consume without thinking that you think we need to stop consuming on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, but here's the easiest one is plastics, BPA plastic. They say that it's not a matter of if you have plastic in your body, it's a matter of how much. So let's use it in context of something that people are really motivated by, which is weight loss.
What's BPA plastics?
It's a chemical within plastic that's within our water bottles. It's in our Tupperware. They actually they're saying that they're now in the microfibers of our clothes, and that's being washed out it gets really depressing when you start talking about toxins. It gets washed out into our oceans. So, but for the sake of simplicity, it's bottles mostly that you see, but we've got plastic containers, we've got plastic plates, we've got plastic everything, and that has BPA in it, and that is a toxin that destroys human health. And the biggest and most interesting thing that BPA plastics do is there was a study around something called an agouti mouse, and they took this mouse that had a gene for obesity. And they were twins. They fed them the same food. They gave them the same amount of exercise, but one of the mice got introduced BPA plastic. And the one that got the BPA plastic all of a sudden started to gain weight, and the hair color started to change. And that was the only difference between these two mice with the same genetic profile. And so then when they detoxed the BPA plastic out, the mouse lost weight. So that was the beginning of us understanding a term called obesogens. And obesogens are toxins that actually make us insulin resistant, actually cause us to hold on to more weight. And that's just one category of toxins.
Well, that's terrifying.
It is terrifying. To be completely, from the center of my heart, it's this is why we have to educate ourselves. This is why we have to wake up. We have to understand that we are living in the most toxic time in human history. And it's not just mental stress. It's not just social media. It's a barrage of all of that is pulling us off course. And I can tell you that I have sat with some of the most brilliant doctors who are generally so concerned on the direction of humanity and where we're going because of the abundance of these toxins.
As you said that, I could see a sadness in your face. Where does that come from?
I think it's really easy when you hear a podcast like this and what I'm saying to reject what I'm saying, because it's too overwhelming to understand what the evolutionary mismatch we're in right now. So many people are suffering, whether it's physical or mentally, and they don't realize that it's everything from the food to their shampoos to the plastic water bottles. It's so vast, and yet nobody's doing anything about it. And that's where my heart hurts. It's like people are suffering that don't need to be suffering. And if they understood that the modern world we're living in has taken us so off course with our health, and we've got to start to one by one figure out how to bring it back on course. And yesterday I sat with Dr. Dale Bredesen and interviewed him on my podcast. He wrote a book called The End of Alzheimer's. And he laid out 7 things that we need to do to stop Alzheimer's. And he strongly feels that Alzheimer's is optional. You don't have to get that. And those 7 things are so intense. Like, it's everything from detoxing to metabolically switching to prioritizing sleep to human connection to understanding what the best exercise is for you. And it's easy for humans to look at those 7 things and go, I'm out. I can't do all that. But if we want to exist on this planet, we're going to have to do that. That's the new level of health we're in right now. And I love being the cheerleader. I want to be the one that's like, come on, we can do it. But I also need people to understand that where we're living as humans right now is a very, very dangerous place. And it's just in the existence of moving in and out of grocery stores and restaurants and the drugstore. Everything has a toxic insult on us. And it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.